If we just look at some of the aspects of energy in China, such as energy intensity, here's the picture of China's energy intensity, which is the amount of energy needed to produce a unit of growth, a unit of GDP. That's what energy intensity is. Again, going forward for a minute, in history we look at all the major industrializing countries, starting with Britain, then the United States, then Germany, France, then Japan. What's the picture in terms of energy intensity? It's always that early on in their industrialization, they are energy inefficient. They're burning more and more energy for each unit of GDP that they produce. They then reach a limit, a peak, and then they start to improve their energy efficiency. That's their energy productivity improving, or their energy intensity declining, because one is the inverse of the other. That's the historical picture. Now look again at China. And the only way in which you can see that history being replicated is here. In the early 2000s, China's energy intensity started to rise, but already it's starting to fall again. Again, unprecedented in industrial history. China is looking as though it's going to tunnel through the peaking of energy intensity and is going to get to falling energy intensity, and it's going to continue falling through the rest of the century. That is unprecedented. And that's what lies behind the Chinese commitment made in their 11th five-year plan, that between the years 2005 and 2010, they would reduce their energy intensity by 20%. That was a remarkable commitment. Are they on track to deliver that? Perhaps not quite. Their energy intensity might reduce by about 15 to 16%. But that's still quite remarkable, and you can see quite unprecedented in terms of the history. So let me now shift the perspective a little to look at what will be the global issues driving this energy revolution in China. And the first issue is to look at how quickly the rest of the world will be phasing in these renewable energies. To what extent China will be sharing in a drive and a dynamic that is shared by the rest of the world. So that brings us to the question of grid parity. To what extent will the generation of electricity actually move to a point where electricity generated from renewable sources will be equal with, parity with, electricity generated from fossil fuels? And this is a chart from McKinsey's, and they're looking here, coming down the chart. These are the countries with the highest levels of solar radiation, California in particular, and other parts of the United States. Look at Italy, very high level, in particular in the south of Italy, high level of solar radiation and high electricity prices. So this is a combination of the amount of solar radiation and the price of electricity, and when you can expect electricity to achieve grid parity. So Italy, Germany, Australia, Spain, these are the places where you would expect grid parity to be occurring earliest. China, later. So we don't expect China to be producing electricity at grid parity quite as early as some of these other countries. Therefore, it has to drive the uptake of solar energy, solar technologies with policy instruments. This is another way of showing the same thing. This is the learning curve, the costs for generating solar energy coming down, the costs for generating power from conventional fossil sources slowly going up, and there's the crossover somewhere around the present up until the year 2030. Somewhere over the next 20 years, there will be that crossover. Once that crossover has been completed, then solar energy will go into its rapid takeoff, the steepest part of the logistic curve, around the rest of the world, but also in China. In the case of wind energy, This is the global picture. Again, very, very rapid uptake, but again, you could draw a logistic curve for global wind uptake to show that these will actually look quite small when compared with what we expect. And here with the grid parity issue, here's the cost of wind-generated power coming down. Here's the cost of thermal power slowly going up. And again, the crossover point between around 2015 and 2025. So again, within your careers, that crossover point will occur. And again, once that crossover point has occurred, then the rapid take-up of wind energy will move into the steepest part of the logistic curve. The other major issue for the question of the uptake of renewables is the finance. So some of these reports that I mentioned that have been looking at the China question are starting to use very large numbers for the finance needed to drive this extraordinary energy transformation in China. Figures as large as $500 billion per year, $500 billion per year. That is a very, very large level investment. How realistic is that? Well, that's the other side of the issue. When we look at this renewable energies revolution globally from the financial perspective. Here I want to refer to some of the work that Enzo mentioned in the introduction, where a group of us are starting to discuss sources of finance that are not just finance from government funding that comes from taxes, but funding that comes from private finance, particularly raised through the bond markets. And that's where we can see climate bonds being issued through established banks, where the proceeds will be fenced off or ring-fenced to financing renewable energy and low-carbon technologies. So these could offer institutional investors a safe harbour without being exposed to the fluctuations of fossil fuel-driven economy. So if we look at some of the financial instruments that have been issued recently, the European Investment Bank has been issuing climate awareness bonds every 2 to 3 years. They've just issued another bond for about €300 billion this year. They're using the services of the merchant bank Dresdner Kleinwort to do that. This is the major bank, the investment bank of the European Union. So it's the official investment bank of the European communities. They're using this bank to actually structure their climate awareness bonds.